Welcome back. You're still watching The Agenda. So Advocate Zandile Moshololo is expected to begin her cross-examination of a state witness, Warrant Officer Thabo Mosia, when the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial resumes this morning. Last week, Mosia went through some photographs and exhibits collected at the crime scene. We'll get more now from SABC News reporter Sipho Kekana. Sipho, a good morning to you. So what are we expecting to see today? And I think maybe if you are able to just wrap up also the testimony that we heard as we wrapped up the week last week.
So good morning, Naledi. So this morning, what we are expecting is that issues of sin tampering, possible sin tampering and possible evidence planting are expected to continue to be bones of contention under cross-examination when the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial continues this morning. You recall that on Friday, Thabo Mosia, the warrant officer, who was the first investigative officer on the scene, his testimony had to be cut short when Advocate Zandile Moshololo was not in court. So this morning, what we are expecting is that Advocate Zandile Moshololo will then come in today and then start her cross-examination of the witness. So what we witnessed on Friday, what we heard was the evidence that was then presented by Thabo Mosia being cross-examined, being interrogated. You'd recall that he has told the court that when he arrived on the scene, he did not consider the people who were in the house as possible suspects. He says that he also did not perform any gunshot residue test on the people that were involved in the scuffle that took place apparently in the kitchen, just between the people who were in the house and the two alleged intruders. He has not performed any gunshot residue test on them because, according to him, those people were not possible suspects but rather victims. And we've also heard about how he did not take any swabs on the kitchen door, which apparently the two intruders used to get into the house. And he says he did not do so because, according to him, that door had already been used repeatedly, overly, before he could arrive on the scene, which was about 4 hours after the incident. We also heard that he did not take swabs on the door of the bedroom into which Tumelo Madala had run into after the first gunshot. He says he did not do so because, according to him, there was no need, because the person who had run into that bedroom was Tumelo Madala, a victim and not a suspect. So he says when he immediately arrived on the scene, he asked around, he asked the people who were there as to what had actually transpired, and then he followed the movement of the alleged intruders in the swabs that he then took. But Naledi, you recall that there has always been issues of possible sin tampering. We've heard about a witness statement by one Sylvia Ngubeni and her daughter Gugu, who have deposed statements to the effect that while they were on the scene, they saw Maggie Piri on the scene picking up cans and cleaning the place because, according to Maggie, she did not want the police to know that the people who were in the house before the two intruders came in had been drinking alcohol. So those are the issues that we are expecting today, that when Zandile Moshololo starts her cross-examination, she is going to be drilling in on those issues. There's also the issue of the bullet projectile. This has been very contentious in court. You'll recall that, according to Mosia, he first arrived on the scene about 20 minutes before midnight, 20 minutes after midnight, which was just about 4 hours after the incident itself. Now, he says on his first visit on that evening, he was there for about 2 hours before he left to attend to other matters. He says during that time, he looked around for possible clues and evidence and exhibits, and he was taking pictures as well. But he says he never took notice of any projectile on the kitchen counter there. And the bullet projectile that we are talking about was only discovered the next morning. And Naledi, you recall that previously we've heard from the first respondents, police officers who were the first to arrive on the scene. What we've been told, what we've heard from them as well is that when they were there the first time, they did not notice any bullet projectile on the kitchen counter. According to them, they only saw a bullet fragment only on their second visit. On their first visit, when they went in there, they saw no bullet projectile on the counter, and they left that scene because they did not regard it a crime scene at the first visit. They're saying that they left that scene in the care of Kelu Khumalo's uncle, Themba Khumalo, who we also expect that at some point will then be called to come and give testimony on how he took care of that scene. Remember that this is the uncle that had the keys to the house, and when the two officers left for the hospital, they left him on the scene to look after the place. And what we understand is that he locked up the place, but apparently, according to the statements that have been now read out in court, it was during that time that people did gain entry into the house, and cans were picked up and were thrown out of the house into the bin because Maggie Piri apparently did not want the police to know that the people who were in the house on that night had been drinking alcohol. Right. So those are some of the issues we are expecting that Advocate Zandile Moshololo is going to be interrogating when cross-examination continues this morning.
Yeah, no, Sipho, lots of contention, and of course we'll bring you those proceedings live from 10 o'clock. Our reporter, Sipho Kekana, they're keeping a close eye on that story. Do stay with us. We take a short break. More news on the other side of this.